just concluded our panel with in-house counsel on what arbitration means to their organizations, how they see the future of arbitration, what improvements can be made, what predictions would they like to make, and indeed, if they had a superpower, what single thing would they do to try and improve the quality of international arbitration. I'm here with Kirsi, who is our reporter on today's panel. Kirsi, it was quite interesting, wasn't it? Because on some of the issues, the three panel members had very strong collective views, and then there were other topics that we discussed where actually you could see some real differences. I thought that was quite interesting.
That's quite right. One main theme that really attracted attention both from the audience and from the panelists was the appointment of arbitrators. And we had Johan Ramberg here, who had the view of giving the powers to the institutes and letting them do the selection. And I think there were really good points made both by Isabel and Clemens, saying that that's actually the most that's the key feature to them, and needs to remain confidential. And I'm sure you'll recall there were a couple of good comments also from the audience, suggestions for improvement concerning, for example, a screening process of arbitrators, so that the arbitrators would know who's appointed them.
It's an interesting idea, isn't it? I mean, there's so much in the media at the moment about the role of unconscious bias in decision making and about how we perceive parties from different cultures, how we review evidence, how we make decisions. So this idea both that the tribunal wouldn't know which party had appointed them, but also we had this fantastic idea from Clemens with his superpower.
That's right.
That we might move to a system of what he described as blind arbitration, where the tribunal would know nothing about the identity of the parties and possibly also the identity of their counsel, and they would simply receive the information in a sort of anonymized form. I think that's such an interesting idea.
Right.
I wonder if we'll see some of that in the years to come.
Yes. And in terms of superpowers, the panelists were asked what would they improve if they had one thing, and also quite classical approaches emerged. Isabel mentioned efficiency. That's something that everyone should safeguard in their minds and act accordingly.
We had a very interesting observation from the floor on the question, sort of, what does nationality mean in an era of very globalized trade? How does one even decide what the nationality of a multinational is? Do we look at where their revenues are derived? Do we look at where the bulk of their employees are based? Do we look at where their major shareholders are resident? The analysis doesn't really seem to work on these traditional views of nationality, and it was very interesting that, at least in the minds of our panel members, they appeared to be content to do away, actually, with the traditional prohibition on chairpeople, at least, not sharing nationality with the arbitrating parties. So I thought that was quite interesting.
Absolutely. And another viewpoint that was also raised was that is there actually, in the current world, is there really truly international arbitration at the moment? And very provocative idea, I think, for everyone to think about whether arbitration truly is international at the moment.
And certainly people seem to be in broad agreement with the idea that we should be moving to broaden out the pool of arbitrators, that diversity is important, whether it's gender diversity or diversity in terms of sort of, culturally, and also in terms of the geographies that we're introducing into the decision-making pool. One of the things that was particularly interesting, I think, for our panel was that most of them seemed to think that really this was the role of the institutions.
That's right.
Part of the rationale was that, as a decision maker with accountability within an organization, choosing a young arbitrator might be one step too far. It might be too difficult for them to justify internally,
That's
but
right.
should the institution decide to make such an appointment, then generally they seem to be very pleased with that. Their perception is that young arbitrators will be highly diligent, very, very motivated to produce a sort of quality and efficient outcome. So from a young arbitrator's perspective, Kirsty, that must be very good news.
That was very good news indeed, and obviously warmly welcomed. And it was a pleasure to hear that, in principle, everyone was receptive to the idea of widening the pool. So
Yeah.
good news indeed.
And inevitably, the debate sort of concluded with a bit of discussion as to investor-state arbitration, and in particular what the future might hold there. It's such a hot topic, isn't it? This idea that we may no longer see international arbitration as the means by which investors can resolve disputes against sovereign parties. Very strong opinions from the panel, both in defence of the current system and not even wanting, especially for Isabel, not even wanting to contemplate actually the alternative scenario. But yeah, a very interesting topic. Let's see if we come back to that in a few years' time, where we might come out. But let me thank you, Kirsty, for your role
Thank you, Sophie.
on today's panel. I
My
look forward to
pleasure.
seeing your write-up. I think we both hope we'll be invited again. Thank you.
Thank you.